It's the Wolf Media Festival podcast. Today's guests. From the award-winning film, The Tower Protocol, Resurrection. Our first reoccurring guests, vodcast hosts, New York Pete and Chris Tipsy Toaster Moore. And now, here's your hosts, Richard Wilmore and Jacqueline Wolfhart.
I'm just going to sit here for a minute and listen to how Jack, like, I want to hear. That would be a good podcast too. Just having someone listen to some other people talk about them.
Yeah. So tell us, Rich, I mean, real quick, I mean, what's your favorite genre? Like, what do you know? Yeah.
To watch?
Oh, I mean, it could be listen, it could be read. Yeah.
Just listen to it.
I watch a lot of documentaries.
Okay, cool.
And comedy, stand-up comedy. Like, I don't really love new television. I think it's kind of weird. And so I watch like old stuff. Like I could watch Roseanne every single day. Okay. I could watch like those classic like sitcoms.
Whoa. What does that mean? Something like Three's Company?
Yeah. I'm super into Bewitched right now. We watch
Bewitched every day. What about I Dream of Jeannie?
Of course. I Love Lucy.
Where's your bottle, Pete? I see it, Pete. It's up above your head.
Yes, above my head. You can see right over here. You can
an actual
partially
reproduction
see
of the
reproduction of Jeannie's bottle is right up there. Yep.
So Richard's main fandom, though, is he loves Rosie O'Donnell for everything.
The Rosie O'Donnell show.
She could do no wrong.
June 10th, 1996 through May 22nd, 2002.
That's perfect. And what about but you just started, right? You were saying I Dream of Jeannie, Bewitched.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Right? So I Love Lucy.
Yeah. Mary Tyler Moore.
Oh, Mary Tyler Moore's a good one. See this connection. See, it's all coming together, man. All right, no worries.
This is why we're here. What?
Two Broke Girls?
Two Broke Girls.
No, I thought you said you have girls, and I was like, I have no children. No.
No, Two Broke Girls. Yeah, that was it. No, it's not.
That was like when was that? I feel like that was like the cutoff of maybe like high school to college for me. So like, I started drinking. I was busy. It was not Thursday nights or whatever it was on. I was out at a house party.
So Richard, we're going to bring you on our show, and we're going to talk about some of this the classic stuff that we just discussed, whether it be I Dream of Jeannie or Bewitched or any of that stuff falls into our wheelhouse. So there you go. Good.
I mean, and 90s pop culture and sci-fi.
Yeah. And it's perfect because we like discussing, so I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched and that kind of stuff, that falls into a lot of what, Chris and I get into in terms of, 70s, 80s TV that we grew up watching. Like we were kids when this stuff was in syndication. And so we love talking about it. And you'd be like a person that's not specifically a sci-fi fan, but you like that stuff. And we could go back and forth. I think we'd have a really good time with that stuff.
How did the two of you get connected? Like, it feels like you have known each other since you were like 4. Like, your chemistry together. Did you grow up together, or is this a random pairing?
Totally random.
Yep.
We internet ran into each other at one point in time, and it was just love at first sight.
So there was a convention that was gonna go on, and we
All-Con in Texas.
All-Con, and it never happened.
Never happened because that is exactly when they shut down the state for COVID.
Yeah.
And so where was it supposed to be in Texas? I lived in Texas during.
Where was that? It was Dallas, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Dallas All-Con. That's it. Yeah, Dallas.
We'd set up a committee, and we were going to sponsor events and sponsor.
Pete was going to come out, but he chickened out.
Well, they were shutting down the airport, and I was just like this shy of being in the taxi, and but there was a committee that was set up beforehand, and that's how I was introduced to Chris, and we sat on the committee and we put together sponsorship for some of the actors that were going to go, and it all revolves around one particular show that had a lifespan of basically one season. And it's called Battlestar Galactica. It's from 1978. And it was a kind of a reunion sci-fi comic book convention. And we worked on the committee. And when everything got shut down, the two of us started discussing what's the future. What are we going to do now? And so Chris pitched this idea of doing a live streaming podcast. I had a year's worth of radio experience. I worked on Nexus Radio for a year. And so I was okay with just doing audio. And he was like, no, we're either going to do video or bust. And I was like, all right. And 6 seasons later, here we are. We have over 300 shows.
6 years, yeah.
Yeah. And so there you go.
Yeah, it started, we officially kicked off September 17th of 2021? 2020.
But we actually put some stuff up earlier.
Yeah, we had played around. We did some interviews at the con that I think we came across with some people, and
then we've met up. So Richard, it's not only that was the beginning.
We've met up, yes.
Yeah, we've gone to conventions, we've been to each other's homes, we've done, it's like we built our relationship, based on a TV show.
I love that.
Yeah, our
Did
wives
you both grow up super like nerdy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You're both.
Yeah. No, Weird Al has a song just about me. White and nerdy.
No, we did totally. When I moved from the suburbs to the city, to New York City, I was lucky enough to move in and meet up with fellow nerds in school, and it just, I was a big Star Trek fan from back in the day, like the original, and I met up with other sci-fi comic book kids that I never had that experience, and that was it. I always was, but then when I had all these other kids that were, like me, I was like, okay, this is my world. This is what I'm into. And I have, I'm not, no shame, Richard, of, talking about it, wearing it on a t-shirt, This is my thing.
Well, I was going to ask, like, when you were talking about that and then finding your community around that love, did you ever get any backlash as a kid, like all like bullying, whatever, like teasing about being so into that? Yes, you're shaking.
Oh, yeah.
Can you talk, like, were you ever, can you talk about that? Like what that was like and when you started to say, I don't give a shit, I'm going to love what I love?
Right. Yeah, I grew up in Casper, Wyoming. So needless to say,
sorry.
It is not the bastion of sci-fi and geekdom that you might think it is. It is definitely a place where you will get made fun of and beat up and all sorts of cool stuff if you're a nerd. So I just kept a low profile, and you could probably ask my high school people, anybody who went to school for that class, asked me who I am, they would not know.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of faded into the backboards, and then I joined the Navy. So then the Navy, I was able to do comic books all I wanted because
all making sense to me now. It's all coming together.
Yeah. You go to that was the thing, you go to on the ship, there's other fellow nerds I ran into there. We played Dungeons and Dragons down below decks, and we played all sorts of stuff. And then we played we always got all the comic books. We traded comic books inside the plot room. It was just it was so good to get out of high school. I
remember
one time I got beat up. I thought this was so cool because I love Miami Vice, and I went and got the pinkish shirt and the white loafers and the pants and the black jacket, and I wore them one time, and after that day I never wore them again. They stayed in the closet. My mom always asked me, why don't you wear that? I said, no. That was a
if we were a better podcast, we would have a
picture
I didn't
of that
need pop up on the screen.
Yeah.
You're like, you mean this picture? Yeah.
Chris, where's the picture?
What? Oh, I don't have any pictures. That's it.
That's it. Done. It's just bad memory.
I did have a friend next door, and that's what got me into the and how to making movies and things. Is we actually started. Oh, this is gonna date me. Yeah, my father had a 35 millimeter Kodak camera, and we would play around with that. I've got to get those transferred. I just got one or two of them, but we would film stop motion of models. Mm-hmm. So we had models. We moved the model, like we did a lot of car races because cars was cool. and we take the model and we push a little forward, put a little cotton behind the wheel, and turn the wheel, put it forward, put a little cotton behind the wheel, turn the wheel, and just
Must have taken hours.
We didn't even know. We didn't know how far we were supposed to move it, or how long you're supposed to hit the button, or anything like that. So we just love doing that kind of stuff, and then watching Battlestar Galactica on TV, and watching Star Trek reruns, and even I remember watching Rat Patrol all the time back in the day. During I had the VCR set up to record all of the old stuff at night, because that's what I had, and reading lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of reading. So that was my childhood, and how you become a nerd, I have no clue, but I just got it that way.
Sorry, Chris. Sorry, man. I feel for you, buddy.
Yeah, that was the childhood. Of course, all the cool stuff, blowing up models with fireworks and all, that kind of stuff was kind of my deal. Pete looks at me and says, "What, you did that?" But Pete grew up in New York, so I don't know. Growing in Wyoming, it's a big difference, I guess, because New York is so dense populated. Wyoming, not so much. Plus,
sorry,
in Wyoming, man, you would stay home a lot because of the snow, and I would stay home a lot because I was a nerd and do a lot of reading. So
this is the thing that I don't understand is how nerds can be like so isolated, or like they're so the rarity, right, of these "you're such a dork" when there's so many of these huge fandoms everywhere. Obviously more people are loving it than what they're willing to admit, or we wouldn't have the films, wouldn't get a second season, the books wouldn't get a continuation, that we wouldn't have that if there wasn't people enjoying them. So I'm always like surprised that people are like, "You're a dork, go away. Ew, you like the show that's super popular." Like,
yeah, you talk to girls, and this is what you hear:
"You're such a nerd."
Yeah, so that's what I usually get. So
it's really funny when I started putting things into context. I don't know, Richard, I don't know if you're a sports fan, but you grow up and you have your coworkers, your fellow students when you're in school, grad school, undergrad, whatever it may be, technical schools, whatever it is. And, a lot of people around you are really hardcore sports fans. And I remember meeting the first guy that was into fantasy sports. And I was like, "What is that? Is it?" Yeah, it's like, "What? Fantasy sports?" Like, yeah, what do you mean fantasy sports stuff? And they're like, "Oh, well, we learn the stats of a certain player, and you memorize this, and then you put it against a team from like 1950 versus." I'm like, "What are you talking about? It's like science fiction, man." Whoa, what? No. It's like, so let's see, you paint your face the colors of your team, and you go like it could be 32 degrees out, right? Like snowing, and you're out there, and I'm like, what? Because I'm like a big sci-fi fan, and I know all this technical jargon that's totally made up, but you memorize the stats on a guy that played last season, 2 seasons ago. How many footsteps, how many times he fumbled, how many whatever. I mean, like you put it on a scale. It's like, listen, dude, you're gonna say, what about my thing?
Preach,
I don't
brother.
think so,
Preach.
man.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, look, we all have our, those hobbies, those things that drive us, and like some people just like, classic movies. That's their thing, like you can't say, anything about what a movie that came out in 1971 or whatever. Okay, fine. But you don't like the fact that I know, all about Captain James T. Kirk and, his voyages or whatever. I mean, come on, man. Right. So it's kind of weird. But once I learned that, I'm like, okay, dude, relax. You probably know all about, stats of whatever. But now you're going to say that this is, what? And then
you're the weird one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up in Wisconsin in the height of the cheese head. Remember when they were going and they would wear chunks of cheese on their head, but we were the weird ones. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, come on, man. Let's get real, right? Let's just get real and then put that away. And it's like, you got your thing and I don't care, and go enjoy. And then I got my thing and I go to my conventions, and New York Comic Con will get like 150, 160,000 people in 4 days, and you're gonna say, what are you gonna say about that, right? And I believe that now in the digital age, we have so much more information and things are so much more open. And when anybody, and no one will second guess the fact that you're talking, who knows, hundreds of millions of dollars are moving the economy just in one convention at New York Comic Con, never mind San Diego. So now, it's like, oh yeah, that's right. Okay. All right, cool, man. We finally got some respect, but we had to kind of build that up, and that's okay. It's all right. Comic books, Stan Lee worked his entire life to get that respectability. And here we are. So it's a good thing. Bottom line is, guys, that we found a niche. Right. We decided early on that we were not going to try to do Star Trek podcast or a Star Wars podcast. And we're big fans of all sci-fi, but those two things are done by actors from those shows and movies. They have their own, they go and they've created their own podcast. So what is that we're going to talk about when there's other fans that do it better? And we, and it turns out that, Chris and I happen to love Battlestar Galactica. And so we were like, yeah, you know what? It doesn't matter if nobody shows up. We're just going to get together.
We're going to get
hash it out.
So we were
and now, we have like almost 33,000 followers, hardcore sci-fi fans, and they love all kinds of sci-fi. But we zero in on Battlestar Galactica, and it works, and we love it.
And the other stuff is fantastic. Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, that was it. It was just that our fans are just, they're hardcore Battlestar. So, and it's funny because once you start looking into this, you could be a Logan's Run fan, right? And it's like they had less than a season on television. They had one movie and one movie, and that's it.
Yep.
No. Logan's Run did have.
Logan's Run had one movie and then
one movie
TV,
and six episodes.
Let's ask the research department here on the show.
It's like, we're not going to poo-poo them because our show had, one technically
24 episodes.
And they're hardcore, so there's a fandom for all of these films, and we overlap a little bit on some of those, esoteric cult films and shows, and because we love it, we grew up with it,
and we don't poo-poo Star Wars or Star Trek or anything else. We actually we have a, as we were building our fandom and our following, as our following is building themselves, because we didn't build them. We didn't go out and say, hey, it just kind of ended up this way. We built a family, is what we like to call it. And we've got some Star Trek people, and we got some Star Wars people. So we said, hey, you know a lot about, you're keeping up with the things and why don't you come on and you can give a segment each week or each month or each quarter, depending on what you want to do. And they say, yeah, I'll come on once a month and we'll talk with all the new stuff that's coming up Star Wars. And that's how we got Chris Fian for Star Wars. And then Star Trek, we ran into somebody at a convention and we talked to him for a while, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm big into Star Trek and everything. So hey, you're keeping up with this. Can you help us? And I would say IFB isn't just Pete and I. It is a family. It is a big group of people that they get together, and we're getting ready to get together really big soon. In July, we're going to go to a con pretty much together. We're going to have all these people coming in.
But that is more related to the film, which brought you guys here today.
Let's get back to the film now.
Yes.
I didn't get to be on the other episode, so I have lots of questions.
No, ask away because they're beautiful humans.
So, just kidding. Go with your segue. Jacqueline had a great segue. Go.
We built family, and that's what helped us build the movie. As a matter of fact, I mean, we had an idea in the movie. We started writing it, and I got with Pete and we finished it up, and I was like, hey, let's do this. I mean, a project that you don't put out is never a project that is ever heard or anything else. It dies with you. So therefore you need to get something out. Go ahead, Pete.
So so we not only created our podcast, our streaming live podcast, we created a fan film that is in the world of our favorite show, Battlestar Galactica 1978. And, we did it as a showcase. We put it out. It's won dozens of awards. It's done better than we've ever thought it would be. And that inspired me to go back and actually tap into an idea And my first indie film, I'd gone to school of visual arts, and I was taking classes at night while I was working full time, just because I wanted to, get that creative juice going. And I was back in early 90s, and then mid to late 90s, and then into the early 2000s. It was, there was a lot of things that were going on. 2001, obviously there was the 9/11, but that didn't mean that everything had, life wasn't going to stop, and we weren't going to just lay down and end things. We were going to continue on. And I had always had an idea of playing in the world of filmmaking. So from then, fast forward to now, I had done a bunch of things related to, film and media and studies and the like. And so, meeting Chris and creating this platform and having, a collection, a collective of creative people, I was like, well, you know what? Why don't we revisit this original IP that I had called the Tower Protocol? And I went back to film school. So that was one of the big things. Once I retired, I decided I'm going to go back to film school, because it had been a gap of 20 years, and technology has, leaps and bounds. It had moved, very quickly. And some of the terms have changed. Some of the definitions have changed. Some of the things are done a little bit differently. I discovered that by working on a feature film. And then I said, you know what, if I want to really enjoy myself and really do this, let me go back to film school. And that's what I did. And so local community college, I went to film school, and I was like, you know what, let me revisit the Tower Protocol. I'd released a short back in 2004. I'd shared it with Chris. Chris had seen the original. And so I crafted a new story as a short. And it's kind of I would say, more than anything, it is a proof of concept, because I did want to make this into, like, either a feature or maybe even a series, comic book. I want to build it out. And so having IFB, Interfleet Broadcasting, was really good for, the idea of creating this. And so that's what happened. We did the fan film, and we did it well. We learned a lot from it. And then right after that, I was able to, I invited a lot of students that were also passionate about filmmaking and hadn't had an opportunity to work on, a project like the one that I envisioned, which was Tower Protocol Resurrection. And we filmed it. We edited. Chris edited. He produced as well. And
okay.
We did really well. We actually won 27 awards so far. Total festival selections 19, and we've screened so far in 14 festivals. And Wolf Media, we actually submitted it, and we appreciate the fact that your team, your jurors, your process actually recognized something in Tower Protocol Resurrection, and we've been nominated now into the annual film festival. And you guys recognized us for best sci-fi short, and we won December 2025 best director, thriller, world building, and cast ensemble, which means a lot to us, and we really thank you for that. I think we're gonna keep moving. The goal is to make it into a feature, and we're gonna actually use the 2004, and we're going to use the 2025. This one, the new one, the Resurrection, and we're going to build it. Link them up. We're gonna shoot a bridge. And so there'll be a new opening, a new kind of an ending, and then in the middle is going to be, where and what and how, and we're going to put it together into a feature is now the goal. And so we thank you guys for having us here, and then of course all the recognition, which means we've done something right. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. And I want to say something. I had a hard time not cheating a little bit. And I mean, I didn't cheat, but I saw Tiny Bean was one of the actresses in your film,
Yes,
and
that's
I
right.
so badly wanted to just make an award for her because I love her so much. She's a reoccurring guest host. I guess you would call
Yes,
her a reoccurring.
yes. She's
She
a
does segments
She has a
on the
segment.
producer. Yep,
she
second
does
producer.
say and she's just so I love what she does on your guys' show that I so badly wanted to just create an award just to give it to her and just be like, then we can have her on a guest on our show, you know. But I didn't. I followed all the rules and I didn't make up an award for her. So what I wanted to so badly, just because she's adult.
Yeah.
She's an absolute. I mean, everybody, you guys did get best cast ensemble, which
Yeah. Oh
is
yeah.
that is a very rare award. I think that's only been given out 5 times this year and maybe 2 or 3 times last year. So
Wow.
it's
Thank you.
very rare that a whole cast is acknowledged. But yeah, no, you guys did great. I thought it was wonderful, and that's without me being a judge and not making up fake awards for Tiny Bean. So
Perfect. No, you know, the beauty of that is, you know, when you're filming and you're getting into this kind of stuff. Richard, I don't know if your background is as a filmmaker. I don't know if you are, but a lot of times I'm sure you've heard this before, is that, you know, you tap into resources that you have, especially when they're good.
Mhm.
And we're lucky that we worked with a very small budget. I got a SAG waiver because of that, and I was able to incorporate actual SAG actors. So in the Tower Protocol Resurrection, we have some pretty, you know, heavy duty, you know, actors. They're SAG actors, and they've, you know, done things on television. They've been, you know, in various different projects. But we were also I was able to marry them up with people that I thought have talent, that are talented, you know, have skills. And one of them, of course, is the star Jeff Kirkland, and you mentioned Tara, and you know, there's a couple of others that I was able to, you know, bring in, and these are people that are anxious to, you know, they're always looking to work, and they take it seriously, even though it's, you know, they may not be SAG actors. However, someone like Tara does theater, and she's trained in it, and, you know, she's been doing theater for, you know, decades, as have Jeff Kirkland has done that as well, but he's also done, you know, these projects along the way. And so we were lucky to have them, and I've been working with them for decades, you know, over 20 years, and so it's always a lot more fun when you have a close knit family of, you know, like minded, talented people. And I think we're blessed both working on our podcast, whether it's our fan film or, you know, the Tower Protocol now. You know, we've tapped into those resources, and it's important. But I also, like I mentioned, I was able to round up those fellow film students that were interested, and gave them an opportunity now to be involved in a project that might take them longer to do on their own, or, you know, finding their own way to get into projects that have won awards. And so I've made sure that, you know, they've gotten the recognition, they get the IMDb credit, because it'll help jumpstart their career if they end up doing, you know, film. So that was important to me.
When did you both get into media? Like, when did that become something that you were interested in, or did you grow up like I did, wanting to be a talk show host?
Yeah. I grew up wanting to be a radio personality, but that didn't follow through on that in anywhere, shape or form. So I did do a lot of, you know, the video stuff with friends of mine, and you know, just little snippets and things like that. And then it just became kind of a hobby throughout my life in regards to film editing. Taught myself, self-taught editor. You know, do all the you know, all the all of the different programs, and then, you know, you're like, what can I do with this, or what can I do with that, and then it just kind of becomes, you know, a jobby. In my case, my job does the same thing as my hobby does a little bit, so it worked out well. I created a niche in my professional life, in my actual work, and I created a division that does this.
Wow.
So
Good man.
That's how I got to it.
I actually, when I was 11, Rich, I read The Making of Star Trek, the original TV show. And I love that show so much. The book, it's like a paperback, like this thick. It's heavy technical speak, and I barely understood what these guys were talking about, but I love the show so much that I forced myself to read through the whole thing. And I was like, I don't know what this stuff is, but I could never imagine what it would take to break into, that world as a kid. And then, fast forward to 1977, when Star Wars was out, and I just kept thinking to myself, man, wouldn't it be cool to say that, you're the director, the producer, or, to see your name on the marquee, like, Star Wars by George Lucas, that kind of thing. And I was like, man, that would be so cool. But, I'm a first generation American. My parents came to the United States from Colombia and Greece, and they had to learn the language. They worked very, very hard, and my mom was a teacher, and my father was basically an entrepreneur slash baker, and we were in the donut business for almost 35 years. When you come from that, you never bring up the fact that you're going to become, a filmmaker, right? Those kind of parents are like, if you ever saw My Big Fat Greek Wedding, that's the kind of background I have. I was raised more Greek than I was Colombian. My mother embraced the Greek culture. And, it's like, are you going to become a doctor or a lawyer? Yeah. There you go. Those are your choices. There's no, I was like, Dad, I think I'll
be a podcaster. Yeah.
No. You're going to love this. It was like, how about before Indiana Jones? I was like, wouldn't it be cool if I became an archaeologist? And he goes, I'm not sending you to school to be an archaeologist. Are you crazy? And that was like the closest I came to doing something I really wanted to, kind of do. So I went to grad school instead of law school. And, I didn't end up either becoming a doctor or a lawyer. However, I always wanted to pursue that idea of, the creativity, the creative side of me. And that's all. So I would get together with my cousin, who's my best friend, my best man. I'm his godfather to his son. And we would talk movies. He's in the business. And, eventually he got to the point, he's like, listen, we need to stop critiquing these things unless we can do better. And the words out of his mouth was, yes, we can. And so that's when I went to school visual arts, and I started learning script writing. And I was like, all right, you know what? This can be done. I did some stuff on public access here in New York City. I had two shows, 6 episodes each. And the funny thing is, one of them ran for 20 years because I left some of the tapes at public access, and they would run this one episode of one of the things I did. And I met people that would watch that and say, hey, did you ever do anything on like TV? One time was at the airport, and this young woman ran up to me, and she happened to be a film student. And she said to me, I've seen you on television. Didn't you make like a movie or something? And you did like a public ad where you did like a public access. And I was like, yes. Thank you for watching. Like, you're like the one, out of 10,000 that watched the show that actually remembered me. And then somebody at church in the city was like, hey, I've watched you on public. I'm like, what? So these are the, that's the kind of things that I kind of did, and I always wanted to do. I never was able to do professionally, but here we are now, and we're kind of living a dream, and it's kind of fun. And not to say that we don't want to do this professionally. We do. We're not here to waste people's time or to do things for fun, and because that's another thing, a trend in filmmaking now is like, listen, guys, stop making things and just putting them out for the heck of it. Either your goal should be to professionalize. You can't live your life as an amateur. You gotta either do it or don't because the industry's changing. So that's something
everything you do should be building. You should be building yourself or
we
learning.
Feel like that's definitely reasonable. So there you go.
It must be something about public access, because I also did a show on public access in Milwaukee and was walking down the street and someone was like, I saw you have a show. And I was like, people watch public. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. I didn't know. I thought,
level of fame, you guys, peak level. You can't
that's
get
where
more
it all starts. I want to talk about or get your perspective on what it takes to put together your live stream podcast. What goes into that? Is there a crew? Is it just the two of you? And then what goes into the films that you're making and what that crew looks like and what you love, or maybe some of the things that you wish would change for both of those?
Interesting. Well, right, Chris, we started out, it was just you and me, period.
Yeah, we started out just you and me, and then I played around a lot with OBS and those kind of things, and then I moved over to more professional software, and I became, I'm a bit of a gear nerd, so it's cameras and lights, and I've got my lighting set up. Here we go. So we got lighting. We got
all right.
We've got all that stuff, and then I got 4 screens in front of me, cameras in the middle. So we kind of just started this point. Then I got him a little nerdy on equipment, so I got him to get equipment, and we got the professional stuff, and then I was like, even if it wasn't gonna take off or anything, at least it looked good. That was one of the important things. And it sounds good. You can, like I always say, and you hear it on the industry all the time, you can have crappy video, but you can't have crappy audio. Nobody will sit and listen to crap audio, but they will sit and watch crappy video if they want to. So we kind of started on that and built it through the years. And it's like, learned more about social media platforms that we didn't know. I was like, let's read this stuff up, hit some YouTube channel stuff, and kind of went that direction. And first couple live shows, we go back and watch them now, was a little rough.
Still fun.
We had a blast.
Oh,
it was always, I think, over the 5 years, almost 6 years now that we've been doing this, we've learned a little bit of something every time. Every episode we do something. Hey, sometimes it's off the cuff. Sometimes, hey, what are we going to do when it's a live show? What are we going to do when somebody doesn't show up when they said they were going to be?
That's happened to a bunch of times.
The worst.
You're like,
it's happened so many.
Let's talk about, I don't know.
Yes.
Piece of paper over here.
We've lived through that. Yep.
So but so we always head back. We could always talk. Pete and I can always talk for 2 hours easy without a problem. And we'll just bring up one subject and boom, away we go. So but those are the kind of things that we went. We learned from that, and it's just. I think the more you do it, the better you get at it. But it's also something, and I think we covered this in the very first podcast that we had in here, was do something that you love. If you don't have a passion about it, and you just want to, I'm going to be here to make money, you're in the wrong business.
Yeah, wrong business.
It's not going to happen here. Not easily, at least.
Not easily.
So, it's a lot of people see this and, see stars and money falling out of the sky somehow, and people just walking up to you and paying you money for some reason. That's not what's going to happen. But if you're doing something you love, then I don't need somebody to drop money down on me. I don't need somebody to follow me around or anything else like that. And if you are doing something you love, other people will see that you're doing something you love, and those people will want to be with you. They'll want to watch your show. They'll want to be part of that family. They'll want to be somebody who is involved in your podcast. And that's what makes it great. I think those things there, get your heart going. You feel so good about these people. And it's never about, and Pete and I always say, it's never about us. It's always about the fandom. It can't be about us. So
yeah, we've picked up. So I had been, once upon a time, I did 6 years in the 501 Star Wars 501st Legion, and so I had a connection with the 501 Empire City Garrison, and so as we were expanding our podcast, I started tapping into some of the assets that I have. I brought in my cousin George. Like I said, he's in the business. He's a tech. He's been nominated. His team has been nominated 4 times for Emmys, and he's actually won an Emmy. So he knows something about what the business is, working on film and TV and sports. And so I then brought him in once we kind of knew that we were going to keep doing this. And so he's in the background helping out all the time with ideas, or giving us stories or leads or things. And so he's there. And then like I was saying, the 501st, I reached out, and we have our Star Wars expert that comes on, and then the 2 of us, we went to conventions, and then we brought in Bran, who does our Star Trek stuff, and he's
We met him in Denver. Yeah.
yeah, and he's involved with the International Star Trek Association, and so he kind of represents all the Star Trek stuff. And then we've picked up various individuals like Tara, Tara Palin, Tiny Bean, who's been a family friend of mine for decades upon decades. And so she came on, and John Won, someone that I knew from back in the day when I was working. It was funny because he called me one day and said, "Hey, what are you doing? Are you up to anything? I could use a distraction." And I was like, "Absolutely." Come to think of it, we have something. It's called IFB. And there you go. So then, we brought in John, and then we brought in Tiny Bean, and then, like I said, my cousin George was in the background. And so we started expanding the team, and now we have consultants.
Some of the people we built the team with are the people we interviewed.
Yes.
So we'd interview a number of people, and for instance, Bert, we interviewed
Oliver,
him, and he became a big follower of us, and then just he's like, hey, we need, would it be great to have something about he recommended, hey, can I come on the show and do a part? So I don't I can't say we built it. It was really built by the fans. Which makes you feel good at that point, I guess. I didn't really
absolutely
step back and realized it, but yeah, the fans. I mean, we've got, we interview a bunch of people and go to cons and talk to people, and suddenly, hey, can I come on your show? Can I do this regular bit?
Yes.
Sure, yeah, come on. We're not
Yes.
going to hold back. So we meet all these people, and become, you start this big family, or this big group of people.
Yeah.
And then you put it down as one voice sometimes, like. When it comes down to like the fan film, it was all one voice. It was, hey, we want to do a fan film, and all of them come up and go, how can we help?
Yeah, between be it Chuck and Chris Marshall doing Chuck Davenport and Chris Marshall doing CG for us. Professor Eric Patton, who's an expert, subject matter expert and writer on Battlestar Galactica, or superfan Fran Severin, who's a legacy fan fiction writer and an author, published author in her own right, on her equestrian stuff. And so all these people Lola, Rob Baum, our unofficial fact checker, and I don't know, Erica, who does our convention chat. And I don't know, I think that's so all of a sudden, Rich, things just we've picked up all of these great people that are part of the team, and they help us, and they're there for us, and it's really cool. Especially when we go to cons and we meet up with them, and they want to hang out with us. And we're getting together, and we're going to get a meal together or something. And these are people that we only knew through the show. Yeah. And to say that we've had upwards of almost 40,000 views on some of our past shows is bizarre. It's mind blowing.
I don't know how. It's just weird.
And that, okay, so that would then, so how do you take that, and then I think it's almost obvious. You say, well, look, we have all these people that are interested, and maybe maybe we can move forward. And so we put the word out. We did our fan film, and then when it came to do the Tower Protocol, we had help. But at that, so I told you, school was a big deal for me, and I always kind of talk about that sometimes, depending on who the guest is on our show, because going to film school, there's a great benefit to doing that. right? It's I'm not saying you have to get a degree. I'm not saying that you won't be successful without going. You can be, but it gives you an element that, is helpful. And so I tapped into that, and I recruited fellow students, but I had the backing of a lot of our supporters from Interfleet Broadcasting, and so it kind of all worked in. It kind of all fit together, and here we are. We're talking about recognition and putting out product, and it has a lot. We have a platform that not a lot of people have, and so it's really helped us out a lot. And in terms of crowdfunding, we crowdfunded our first project, and we raised almost $14,000.
We had to stop because
we had to stop.
Budget.
Yeah. So otherwise we could have raised even more, and we didn't want to do much more anyway. Yeah. But so I know. So there is a connection between the podcasting and both our films, the Fan One and the Tower Protocol.
Can I just educate audience a little bit too, that the more money your film has to spend budget wise, the more money you have to pay the actors, or I don't know how to explain that right.
Yeah, if there's profit, then you have to spread that around.
Yeah, it's so it's not like, oh, I can make a better film because I got this much more money. It's now that much more money that you just got gets divided amongst all the lower people, which I'm not saying I'm against, but sometimes you think like, oh, we got an extra $200, and it actually screws you because now you have to pay everybody an extra $1,000 or whatever.
Correct. Yes.
So that is part of why they were trying to reach, they reached an amount and said, let's not go above that, because another $500 would actually put them in the hole by a lot. And it's a weird thing, but it makes sense when you're talking with these like $1 million budgets. You're like,
you watch some of these. You watch some of these fan films, and they're
100%. Oh yeah,
no doubt about it.
So Rich, we encountered when we did our previous project, we encountered someone that had a 1-to-1 scale prop that we wanted to use, and it was in on the West Coast. I think it was West Coast or in Texas. And one of the promises we had made was, if we reach a certain budget, if we raise a certain amount of money, we're going to actually go out there and film with it. And we realized that's not going to be possible, right? A lot like what Jackie was saying. If you keep raising this money, it has to go over here, it has to go over there. It wasn't going to be able to work out for us. So we said, let's pull the plug. Let's make it with what we got. And it's the same thing with the Tower Protocol. I set a very small budget. I didn't know what would happen with the project. I had confidence that I'd be able to complete it, and I knew that it had to be short, just so that I could, make something that would play well in the festival circuit. So I wanted to be short, and by then, Chris had actually gotten himself trained up on editing, and he used all kinds of special effects that we didn't have access to when I first made it 20 years before. And actually, from the time we put out our first fan film to when we were editing the Tower Protocol, Chris's skill set just had expanded crazily. And so that's why we have, we tried to use all that technical knowledge that he got, and we were able to kind of like bulk it up a little bit. And I think it worked for what it is. And if I would have had to pay to get a guy to do all that special effects, it would have never happened. So so that's kind of sort of a roundabout way to, I think, address the question you had, Rich.
I have I want to jump to this particular film. Just some stuff in the back of my head that's been going on is, did you use sound clips, or did you actually do that because you got the look out a knife in your film? And I was wondering if that was like actually a sound clip, because it made me chuckle. But then also your, what do you want to call him? Like your bad guy voice was so Tony Todd the whole time, but I couldn't. It sounded like Tony Todd to me, and but I couldn't figure out what film you would have cut those from. So I'm a little bit curious on if the "Look Out, a Knife" was a sound grab from a film.
It was.
It was.
No, it's not a sound grab. No, we created that
stock image,
yeah,
or stock audio. So
stock audio. Yeah.
We had to put that one in there because when we were editing it, it just didn't make sense. It's like,
we
what's
didn't
he doing? Oh, he's
yeah, we needed
that
that B-roll right in the moment. We're shooting everything we had to do. We shot B-roll, and translating from paper and even storyboarding certain things. Like sometimes things fall through the cracks, and it was like if we didn't get that real close up of the knife coming out. And we had the stab, but we didn't have where the knife came out.
Didn't make sense. It looked like he was punching in the gut.
so we were like, you know what? We got to put that in. Just get it. Where can we get it from? And so
at that
Tipsy
point in time, I believe, the person who was stabbing and the audio for him wouldn't be capable because he was not doing well. So and we eventually lost him.
Yes. Yes, Dorian Keys Congoli, unfortunately, he passed. Really, really good guy, an award-winning sci-fi author, one of our first guests on IFB.
Very first guest, yeah.
Yeah. And he only had a few years to retire, one of those, kind of strange, stereotypical situations in his life. He only had about 3 years to retire. He was NYPD. And he was on a special unit, and he never made it. I'm glad to say that I got to know his wife and his sister professionally, and then met him and helped him get his sci-fi chops where he wanted them to be. He authored and he wrote, and so he loves film, and he was in both our films. And so we wanted to use more of his talent, and we couldn't. Like he would have been, like we said, like the voice. And then when it came to Valmik or the Dark Lord, actually not Valmik, but the Dark Lord, we had to have other stuff. So we had there was a little bit of dialogue that was needed after the fact, some narration, and so we had to record that. We wrote it and then had to have it recorded after the fact and then put it in. So it was it made a difference. It made a bigger difference in narration, for the narrative. And, I think it played better that way than without it.
And
all right, stop showing off. But and there you go.
Crap out of me for a second.
There you go. And so there's a little bit of the magic, that Chris was able to come up with, and it made a difference. And so we tapped into all that skill set. It's a bit of a showcase.
And it's fun.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
When you do what you love, it's never a job.
Never.
Yeah, just the demonic voice in the film that you had, not that creepy voice you just had, really did remind me of Tony Todd, Candyman, Megatron, of course, Megatron. So, but I was trying to rack my brain of where could they have clipped this from? The audio, the lines didn't match up, but vocally it was.
No, we created that was all dialogue that we wrote ourselves, in a vacuum. So the funny thing is we edited, right? So we had a rough cut, and in the rough cut, so we were at it for, I don't know, weeks, and we were, it didn't take as long as I thought it would, but in the rough cut, we're watching it, and Chris is like, man, it's not playing
right. Your clean plate.
Yeah, we need to come up with, and it was like, all right, well, what if we just turn to dialogue? What if we try to fix it with dialogue? And the first thing that came to mind was, he's got a knife, and I was like, okay, so if we can do that, let's write what the difference is, and there you go. And so then we had
re-recorded over top of it, and it became almost a narrative.
Yeah.
It came out well at that point. And then, some of the special effects things people are talking about, I played with special effects for a long period of time, but the first foray into Unreal Engine was utilized into that program. So his walking up to the stairs and the big thing pulling up,
Oh
it's all
yeah.
put together in Unreal Engine.
Oh yeah. And then we had to there was a well, I had to do some pickup shots that were unexpected, and so we did that. Not a lot. I mean, obviously you can, a project, depending on what your budget is, or depending on your abilities, you could probably shoot plenty and keep shooting and keep rewriting and keep adding or subtracting or
never
whatever.
gonna be perfect.
Yeah, it'll never be perfect, and that was one thing that we had to deal with. We had to contend with the fact that it was either we get it out or we could work on it for another year. And so we said, no, let's try to work with what we can, and let's get it out and make it as good as we can, because it'll never be perfect. And so that was something that we had to contend with.
Those are things that we would have liked to change. I would have liked to change a lot of things, but and we were on a deadline to get. We gave ourselves a deadline to get it out. Otherwise, we would probably be still playing with it.
Oh, for sure.
And then
that's an editor's curse that you can never edit.
And then Stranded Warrior was a nightmare in regards to going through multiple. We had when you do volunteers, and you don't pay someone, you sometimes get somebody that you can use. So editors are like, hey, we'll do it, and then it's okay. Well, here you go. Here's all the footage. Mail you the entire drive with 8 terabytes of footage on there that's shot in 4K. Lesson learned. And put all this stuff together. Give it to the editor, and the editor's like, oh, I ain't got time for it anymore.
So there's definitely
there we go again. And then
there's definitely lessons, and we've actually, we decided that we were going to write our own book on what it was like to, lessons learned from a fan film. And one of the things that, we would never discourage anything, but sometimes a lot of people
get something from what we learned.
A lot of people are very ambitious, sometimes to a fault, and they'll tell you they can do whatever, right? That's like a big thing in Hollywood circles is, I can do it. Yeah, I know how to ride 2 horses at the same time. I can, whatever, stand on my head. I can do, and drink and whatever. And people like, I got to learn how to do that overnight. The same thing goes with, people that, don't have the right skill set will say, I can do that. And then you find out, oh man, that's costing me money and time. So that's always a cautionary tale. Be careful who it is that you're actually getting involved, or if you're hiring them, or even volunteers. Make sure that you kind of do a little screening, you do a little homework. It's like, what have you done? Right? I would love to have you, but what is your real skill set? If you don't know how to work audio, I need to get somebody that does. Right? So if you've never done it, let's not make this your first, because I can't take that on the chin. So if you haven't done it, or if you have, show me proof. Like, let's see your reel. What have you done? You've done special effects. You've edited. Okay, that's good. Otherwise, no, maybe you can do something else for the project, or not at all. So you got to kind of be smart about it too. I was lucky. Like I said, I had Chris, and he helped edit, and it made a difference.
At that point in time, I trained I've been doing editing for quite a while for my job, but it was like some of the other stuff I didn't know, and I wanted to know more about VFX and those kind of things. So you go and pay for some classes online, and you go to professional companies, and like CG Pro and a couple of those, and go to those classes and spend a little money to find out things and learn things, and then put them into use almost immediately is the important part, because otherwise you'll forget them. Yeah. So to go out and find those kind of things. But like people saying, you find a volunteer and they mean well, but sometimes a volunteer is like, hey, I'll do it, and I'll do it in my spare time. I'll have spare time, and then suddenly they don't have spare time anymore. So therefore, you have to know when to. Okay, hey, we need to move forward this.
Yep.
We love you to death. You're part of the family, but we need to move forward this, and we're going to go ahead and pass this over to so and so, and then we did that a couple of times, and then we finally said, well, let's just do it ourselves. So it took Stranded Warrior was what, 2 years?
Yeah. And the Tower Protocol we did like in 14 days, I think. Not even.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, we filmed Stranded in 2 days, but it took 2 years to get it edited.
Yeah, there's just some jobs that I would never do for free, even if it was on my time, and editing is one of them.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. That's just it's such a blessing that that Chris was willing to take on and do both of them, because
I used to do wedding videography as well, and you always made like, and you're doing all this video, you're running the microphones, you're getting all this stuff, you get everything set up, so it's like an on location shoot every single wedding. And then you get back and you edit it in and all this other stuff. And meanwhile, you've got the photographer there.
He's in every shot.
Gets in the way. And then he just goes, has, bunches of photos and everything else, throws it through Lightroom, done. And you're like, and you want to pay him more than me.
The big bucks, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he's worth so much more money, because you know how long it takes to edit this stuff? How hard it is to get the audio right? You know how hard it is to do. It's like, so you always, at that point, you're like, maybe I should just become a photographer, because they make more money and they're here less, because just didn't do it as much. It didn't seem like they did as much stuff, because you watched them, but tons of photo, watched them in there, Lightroom, ta-da, cleaned it up, made it look pretty, ta-da. I was like, and meanwhile, you're back there 2, 3, 4 weeks later, editing. We didn't pick up the audio right. What am I going to do? I don't know. Let's put some flowers in there. Let's cut to the flowers, and that kind of thing. So yeah, you see that you do get those volunteers, and you realize that they have day jobs, and sometimes you just have to let them go and say, "Hey, look, I'm going to turn it over to this guy now. We don't, we know you're," and usually it's very accommodating. We know you're busy. We know you want to live indoors and eat. Got that. So therefore, hey, we're going to move over to this guy over here. But sooner or later, it may just come down to you.
As someone who thinks that they've never seen a sci-fi movie before me, what would you've probably answered this a million times in other places and on your own stuff, but like, what would be a starting jump off point for someone like me?
I would say
you like older stuff, so yeah. But Pete will have a good answer on this one.
Yeah, you should definitely watch Star Wars, the original, A New Hope. That's classic, right? It's a great film in terms of the way it's put together. It's fast, it's light, and then from there, you like. It depends on what you like. You'll watch that, and it's an adventure. It's really cool. If you've seen Indiana Jones, think of something like that type of tempo, but space related. So I would say definitely watch Star Wars if you haven't, the original Star Wars.
I have not.
Okay. So look, the idea being that Star Wars is iconic, and it's something. It's part of a
jump on a Zoom meeting afterwards and just watch Star Wars.
Yeah. No, you have to watch Star Wars: A New Hope. That definitely highly recommended. Followed by Empire Strikes Back. Those two classic Star Wars films will put you right into what sci-fi is. 20th century science fiction film.
Yeah. And I think Pete hits it pretty good there. Of course, I'm surprised he didn't say Battlestar, because that's what I thought he would have said. I think so. One of the key points on me is there's sci-fi and there's fantasy.
Yes.
I'm not a big fantasy guy, even though I used to play Dungeons and Dragons a lot. Just not a big fantasy guy. I hate going to a bookstore and going to the sci-fi section and seeing 90% of it Game of Thrones or Dragon something or other, or that just me off. So I was like, that's not sci-fi. So when we're talking sci-fi, science fiction, I would definitely say Star Wars was probably a pinnacle point. But I'd have to ask some following questions. And like you like some of the movies or some of the shows that you mentioned earlier. And I want to say that Battlestar is was great for a younger age. There's nothing wrong with it. I think it's what they call a buddy movie.
Yes.
Two people, two buddies get along. Think of Adam 12. Those two people got along. Those two people are interacting. So Battlestar Galactica is a buddy movie. You like Adam 12, Battlestar Galactica is right up your alley. It's fun. It's imaginative. And that's what you look for, I believe, in a science fiction show. It's just something that, hey, this could happen. Not, I would hate reading fantasy books. It's like, I can't even pronounce the name of this thing. It's Bergen. I don't know who the heck that is.
That's what drives me nuts about that.
Yeah.
Like, yes,
Like,
yes, where they've got made up languages. Yeah. And I'm like, how? I mean, come on.
The sword's called Hudenharden.
Yes.
Slays the dragon with it. I'm like, it's not sci-fi. Now, if you pulled out the lightsaber, that's a different story. Which is big battle, So, but there's always good versus evil, and I think Star Wars is probably a good starting point if you liked westerns, because Star Wars is a western in space. Pretty much white hats, black hats, good guys, bad guys.
True.
Whereas you heard Battlestar Galactica described as the wagon train. Lauren Green, wagon train in space. So that one goes from there. So I would look, if you liked Adam 12, Battlestar Galactica. If you didn't like Adam 12 and you liked more, Western style stuff, or a Western, you like The Rifleman or something like that, then I would say go with Star Wars original. And then if there's, fans have a hate for certain things. I can't say I have, there's two different versions of Battlestar Galactica. There's 1978 and there's a reimagined version. People get upset that, and Star Wars fandom is the same way. They get upset. So I don't buy the upset piece. It's like, it's just a different storyline, or it's just a different story. It's still imaginative. It's still cool. Sci-fi is cool. Sci-fi is imaginative. And if it gets you to think, like it did our fans for so long, Battlestar being close to 50 years old now.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, so we're getting 50 years old. But people are still writing fan fiction. That's
which is a whole other. We could just do a whole show on that. That's incredible.
Yeah, so I think Pete's right. I would say one of those two, and then of course another one. If you like apocalyptic, I would say Logan's Run. That's if you like an apocalyptic style story, Logan's Run is the best.
And then
and
one last
any of those, read the book.
One last one would be watch Star Wars, and then you'll appreciate Spaceballs.
Spaceballs, yeah.
Because that's a comedy.
If you like comedy.
It's a riff on Star Wars, and then you'll that would be like one and then two. You'd love it. I think you'll have a really good time. Then you'll understand
the riff.
Yeah.
I've got homework for the weekend.
Spaceballs, the lunchbox. Good. Spaceballs, the bumper sticker.
What do you think?
Spaceballs, the quest for more money.
You said that I've been live streaming, podcasting, whatever, for 10 years in 2026. It's my 10-year anniversary. It's going to be yours 6th year, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And what are your thoughts on the podcast boom, where everybody has one, every celebrity has one, and now Netflix is going to start airing podcasts. They're going to start streaming podcasts, so they're turning into shows.
Mm-hmm. Hulu is already doing that.
What?
Hulu is already doing that.
Who do they have?
The one I know for sure is Only Murders in the Building, which is a show about podcasting, has a podcast about their show about podcasting. I haven't watched it.
But it's on Hulu?
It's on Hulu, yes. Oh. They have other ones too, but I can't. That's the only one that's coming to mind. But yes.
I know that Smallville has had some, the stars actually have their own streaming podcast, and I don't know if they've been picked up yet, but they have a big Patreon following. They've been doing it for a few years now, very successfully. But I mean, we're ready for it, Rich. We are any of the quote the networks, any of the streaming platforms that want to pick us up. We got 300 shows for them, and so I think it's inevitable. What's always kind of I've been always humbled and shocked by the fact that, when you listen to some of the stats or you read the stats on how many people out there actually listen to podcasts, whether it's on Apple or Spotify, it's really incredible. There's millions of people that like to listen to what we're doing here, which is really kind of cool. I never really thought of it because look, the death of radio, everybody's like, oh, that stuff's passe, forget it, it's dead, nobody. But that's not quite true. And so like
pirate radio now.
Yeah, so now the evolution, I guess, would be okay. Well, instead of just listening to it, maybe we'd like to watch them talk about it. I guess, and here we are. That's what we're doing here.
And I think that's what kills me is I'm going to soapbox for the word podcast. It automatically envisions it's audio only. There is no. You don't hear a lot of people say vidcast, or they just lump everything into a podcast. So hey, I've got a podcast. Oh, let me listen to it. I was like, no, it's a video. It's a video. Yeah, it's not a podcast. It's a video cast.
Right.
So I think that's one of the misnomers. But I think podcasting, it's that. Don't get me wrong, because some of the people that we like they're doing their own podcast for the actors and things like that. I don't know. This is gonna sound horrible. I don't know if they're doing it for the right reasons. I would say things like specific actor. I'm not going to say, why are you starting your podcast? Is it to, what are you doing on your podcast? What's your subject matter? If the subject matter is to interview my friends who are all stars, okay, that's great. But if you're selling your podcast as, I don't know, sci-fi show XYZ, and you were an actor in that, and you want to make money off being an actor piece of it, you're going to have more people follow you or watch you. But I don't think you're doing it because you're a fan of the show. We've met a lot of actors, and a lot of the first, when you start asking some of these questions to these people, they are like, sometimes they get upset because they're like, some people, in season 6 of episode 4, when the crawl-ons attacked such and such, what's your opinion? Be like,
what?
You're not sure what you're talking about.
Yeah.
A lot of the actors did it for money, and I got it. That's what they do. And some of the actors, I love it when they're honest with you.
Yes, they'll tell you up front.
You know more about the show than I do.
Yeah.
I acted the show.
I can tell you
a character to life.
What it was like to wear the jacket. If you look inside the jacket in the pocket, whatever. And then, but you'll know. I mean, I'll tell you up front. You know more about the story. You've watched it so many times. I was just there, and I'm lucky to be at wherever you're meeting them, whether it be a show, convention or something. So and that's
you create a podcast off of the fandom of that show, and you're not really a fan of that show, then you're doing the fans a disservice at that point. Yeah. So that's just my opinion in regards to all these people that are popping up with podcasts. Are they doing it for the love of the show, the fandom of the show, the fans behind it, or are they doing it for their fans? Who is, I'm Jay Smith, and I have all these fans, and they love me, and they love what I do, and they see all my TikTok videos, and they see everything else, and I want to be popular, and I want to make money off of you, and hey, this is my Patreon information, and here's, hey, OnlyFans or whatever else they're going to sell on them. So here's our product.
Jacqueline's link to OnlyFans will be in the link. In
the there's good and bad in all of it. It just wears your heart, and I know as long as your audience is going in, knowing what's going on, then it is what it is.
Good. All right, we're out of time. We've taken more time than I think we said we were going to, the two of you. How can people find you, connect with you, watch you, all of those things out there in the world?
We are on social media. You can find IFB Interfleet Broadcasting is on YouTube, and it's on Facebook. So look us up. You can also look up our company, our production company, which is Tipsy Toaster Productions, also on social media. And you can also look up our films. We've set up actual social media sites for the Tower Protocol Resurrection and for The Stranded Warrior, our fan film. So please look us up, and we're out there. Love to have you drop in and watch our show. We're live every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. It's a 2-hour show, so between 8 p.m. and 10 Eastern time, you'll find us on every Thursday. And if there's an exception, we'll state it the previous
Thanksgiving,
week.
we may do the day before.
Yeah, but we're out there, and we'd love to have you come on and keep your eyes peeled for updates on our films. And the Tower Protocol Resurrection is still out there, making the festival rounds. And so we have high expectations, as well as our fan film, The Stranded Warrior. And then keep looking for our audio dramas. We also have some audio dramas that we'll be releasing. We've released one. We're going to continue releasing this.
I did not know this.
Yeah. Yes, so we do
audio dramas.
Yep, we do audio dramas
Back
as
for
well.
episode 972 to talk about.
Perfect. Absolutely. We'll come back and yes. So the world of the Tower Protocol is expanding in terms of world building with our audio dramas and all the characters. We're releasing one for Tiny Bean Tara. Is her character, Secret Agent Dois in the Tower Protocol, has her own backstory in an audio drama called Under the Desk that is going to be released within the next couple of days. So 48 hours, 72 hours, there will be an audio drama. So look for it on streaming platforms. It'll be on YouTube. It'll be on social media. So please look for those. And then, just keep following us, guys. We're going to be putting more stuff out.
Good.
Love it.
Pete and Chris, the busiest people on the internet, thank you for taking the time. Congratulations on everything. Thanks for being here, coming back. Well, I'm sure you'll come back again.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
It's fun to be on. It's fun to be on both sides of the microphone. So this is kind of fun.
Thanks, everyone.
Right.
See ya.
Take care.
Wolf Media Festival Podcast with Kyle Hollingsworth, Richard Wilmore, and Jacqueline Wolfhart. Produced and edited by me. I'm Jacqueline Wolfhart. Don't forget to check out the links in the description to find ways you can connect with our guests. Thanks for checking us out today and tuning in every week wherever you get your podcasts.